So I've made a couple videos talking about mine and Clay's financial journey and how we're using dividend-paying whole life insurance in order to become our own banker. It's known as the infinite banking concept, or becoming your own banker. And I get questions all the time, especially from women, because typically we have not been given a lot of information about our financial planning. If you're like me, you started work on the first day of work, they took you to a benefits table and there was a guy there, a financial planner, and said, here, you need to sign up for a 401k. And you said, yes, sir. And you signed up, and that was pretty much the last time that you thought about it. And that was my experience. And so it's taken a lot of learning and growing on our part to come to the realization that there are other options out there. And so while we do not think that 401ks are bad, we have chosen to put our money into whole life policies for a couple of reasons. One of those is the guarantee of a whole life policy. Whereas a 401k, you could earn 8% on your money, or you could lose 8% on your money, because the market is very volatile. And if anyone had money in the market around 2008, 2009, you know very well how volatile the market can be. When you put your money into a whole life policy, it will grow guaranteed at 4%. And then you also have the potential for dividends as well. And the company that we use has been paying dividends for over 100 years. And so while they are not guaranteed, there is a great possibility that you will see an even bigger increase in your money there. And so that's one reason why we choose the whole life policy. One of the biggest reasons is because of the access to cash that we have. And so a term that you may not be familiar with unless you spend a lot of time in financial circles is liquidity. And that basically just means you having the access to your money. And I found that when I had my money into a 401k, obviously I could not touch that money unless I wanted steep penalties. Now you can borrow against a 401k, but you're going to pay, the going rate right now is about 8.5 to 9.5%. And once you pull that money out to use it on something else, that money stops growing. You're not going to get any interest on the money because you have that money out doing something different. The difference in a whole life policy is that you can borrow against the money that you've put into the policy, typically at 5 to 6%. But your money inside of that policy continues to grow at that 4%. And so we liked the idea that we could invest in that policy and secure a future for our family, but also we could access that money to go do something else. So for instance, when it comes time to buy our son his next vehicle, instead of going to the bank to borrow money, we're going to borrow money from ourselves. And so that money that we've already used one time to fund our policy will now be used a second time to pay for the car. And then the bonus of that is that you get to set the terms for the repayment schedule. And so while if you're a good banker and you bank well with yourself, you are going to pay yourself back at the rate that you would normally pay for a car loan. And you won't let that debt just sit out there outstanding, but rather you will pay it back monthly just like you normally would. And so, somebody's asked, well, why don't I just pay cash? That, again, is an option. We're not saying that a 401k or using cash is a bad option, but when you use cash, you just use it that one time. You pay that money for the car, and then all your cash is gone, versus the way that we've done it, where we pay the insurance, and then we also use that money to buy a car. And so those are just two ways that we are using our whole life policy to benefit us. Again, to set up a future for our family, but also to use the money for our everyday purchases, because life still happens. And so if you are curious about becoming your own banker or how a whole life insurance could benefit you, we're having another Pizza and Perspectives this Saturday, December the 13th in Marshall. It's from 9 to 12. Brandon and Nate, they do a monthly meeting with us. It is not to sell anything. There is not one single policy that has been sold at any of these meetings. It is simply for them to explain to clients and potential clients how to become your own banker and how you can use whole life insurance to benefit the banking system in your life. So if you're curious, I will put a link at the bottom. Please sign up. Please come hang out with us and know that you will not be sold a single thing while you're there. No one will bother you about it, but it's just for you to learn more about the system. We hope to see you there.